Welcome back to the channel. I'm Jacob Fisher, and today we're talking about compound investing. How does compounding work in the first place? How much do you need to invest each and every month to save $1 million by a certain age, all depending on what you want to do, and what compounding gets into versus dividends and growth investing. Compounding is a great way to increase your wealth, and compounding can really start to take shape once you hit those higher numbers or higher dollar amounts in your account. Let's just get into it after tapping that like button and maybe subscribing. First, we need to get into how compounding works in the first place. It's pretty simple to understand. Let's say you have $1,000 invested right now. You know your investment is going to grow 10% a year. So you know in a year, you're going to have $1,100. Where compounding comes into play is in that year after. So while in the first year you made $100, the next year you're going to get $110 because 10% grows on the $1,100 in that portfolio rather than the initial $1,000. So that means after 2 years, you're going to have a $1,210 portfolio. Then it sort of spirals up, I guess, out of control. Not really out of control. It just spirals and keeps growing and growing and growing. Sort of like the snowball effect, except not related to debt at all. Compounding can really take off though once you hit those higher investment levels or wealth levels. That's why you hear everybody talk about why you should invest early and invest a lot, as much as you can early on. If you can save $100,000 by the time you turn 30, then technically you don't need to save anything for the next 30 years, and your portfolio will grow at that 10% a year into a $1.7 million portfolio, which that would be okay for me to retire on. I'm, a $1,000 portfolio let to sit for 30 years would only grow into $17,000. But of course, it's the same returns, just one has a smaller amount of money and one has a bigger amount of money. So that $100,000 portfolio grows into 1.7. A $10 would be like $1,700 or something like that. It only amplifies at the $1 million mark. Once a $1 million portfolio you have, if that grows 10% a year, then that's about $100,000 in growth. And technically, if you wanted a $100K salary, you could have a $1 million portfolio, let it grow 10%, and then take it out and use that in your year for spending. The next question I would ask is, how much do I need to save each and every month to actually achieve that goal of $1 million, right? Or maybe even the $100,000 mark. If you wanted $1 million by the time you turn 50, and let's say you're my age right now, which I've got about a little over 25 years to go until I turn 50 and need that $1 million or want that $1 million, I only need to save $770 a month to have $1 million by the time I turn 50. If you waited until the ripe old age of 40 to try to save that $1 million, so you'd give yourself 10 years, then you'd need to put away $4,600 a month. That's about $55,000 a year, or a whopping starting salary of some engineers. If you wanted to wait until you were 45, then you'd have to put away $12,000 a month, or $144,000 in a single year. Maybe you just wanted to save up 100K or 200K so you could have an investment egg and also capital, buy a house, buy a boat, buy a car, whatever you want to do with your money. If you wanted 100K in 5 years, then you would need to put away a little bit over $1,200 a month. But if you wanted $200,000 in 10 years, then you'd only need to put away $950 a month. To have double the 100K, you don't need to put away double the money and double the time. So I guess you don't need to put away the same amount of money each month to last it for 10 years because of that power of compounding. So you can put away less each month to achieve a bigger goal in double the amount of time, or double the goal in double the amount of time. If you invested $1,200 a month for 45 years, or $1,200 a month from the time you graduated college or wherever you decided to go to 67 when you retire, or so, whenever about that happens, it's up to you, your portfolio would be worth $10 million, which is a lot. And that's at the 10% interest rate. The incredible thing is, though, is that your total contributions are only $648,000. So that means you have a $9.4 million growth because you started investing early and compounded the entire time. That's how compounding can really help you out, which is why it is key to start investing as much as you can earlier on in life while enjoying life. Of course, that is, I think that's important as well, to enjoy life. People say that the first $100,000 you save is the hardest, and it only gets easier from there. And I think that holds true here, because your first 100K takes about 5 to 6 years for you to save, saving $1,200 a month at the 10% interest rate. When you hit the $1 million, you get to year 21 and 22, which is 15 years to get 900K more, even though it took you 5 years to save 100K. What about the next million? That comes between year 28 to 29, and then the third million happens at 32 to 33. Then the 6 million is year 39 to 40. It took more than half of the 40 years to reach 1 million, and then by the time you hit year 40, your net worth would be 6 times higher. Finally, I wanted to briefly touch on compounding in general versus compounding with dividends. Stocks increase in value year over year. I think we all kind of know that, right? That's just what happens when stocks you invest. They hopefully increase in value every single year. But some stocks also pay dividends. If you reinvest those dividends, that does two things. Not only will the stock grow, well, hopefully most dividend stocks do grow. Some, like AT&T, don't grow very much, but you do get 8% or 7% in dividends. Anyway, it could grow 8% in a year, the underlying stock, and pay you 2% in dividends, making it about a 10% return on your investment each and every year. Since your initial position is growing and you're always getting 2% in dividends, over the course of 30 years, your position might actually be able to supply you with an income to live on once you stop reinvesting dividends. Or you can focus on growth stocks that potentially might grow 10 to 30% in a single year, but don't pay you any dividends. The stock doesn't help you pay, to increase your capital, but the rules of compounding still apply here because you're still growing, and every year the stock will be worth 30% more, and the year after that, 30% in addition to the previous 30%. Let me know if you have any thoughts on compounding in the comments below. Too many C's. I upload videos on Monday and Friday on travel and finance, so if that sounds like it's something interesting to you, hit that little subscribe button down there. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.